welcome everybody to week 7 of the Chasing the Delta season 7. Yeah, my name is Alex Patterson. I've got Aaron Myers here with me as well. We're both coaches at the CTD Academy, and we are here at the really fun Brands Hatch.
Yeah, excited to be here. This place is a blast to hot lap around. It looks like the weather is looking pretty questionable tonight, so it should be some pretty good races.
Yeah, let's take a look at the weather. So right now it says it's 69, mostly cloudy, no potential precipitation. That is not what it is going to be for the race. If we actually take a look at the pop out here, we'll see that it will start to rain. It might start to rain in about 25 minutes. So depending on when the race starts, we don't necessarily know when the race is going to start, but we do have a chance of rain in the air. That being said, it was at 43% in practice, but now it looks like it's down to 28. So still nothing on the forecast. Rain is a possibility. We have, I believe, a 31% chance of rain at on the PCC as we watch Carter Price, unfortunately, in his car. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping we get some rain because that always makes the shenanigans fun, and we did practice it.
I'm no meteorologist, but if we don't get rain this race, I can pretty much guarantee we're going to get rain the second.
I hope so. So I thought we'd take a look at a lap from Kerry Nolan here as we get around the track. So we're going to go to his cockpit view as he takes corner 1. It is a downhill right-hander that you essentially take in third gear. You slide the car around. Right after that, it is a hairpin. You take this in first gear. Really nicely done by Kerry so far. Kerry was the fastest in practice, although Aaron, you did clip him by 0.04 of a second. But we're not going to count you in this exchange here.
No.
These next 2 turns that he's taking, they're both left-handers. They are off camera. They are very tricky. And you can tell if you handle them well because you do track out to the curb on exit, and Kerry does that really well so far. Now down sort of the long straight. You're going to want to stay in third for this, and again, track out over the exit. The next turn is also a right-hander, but you can actually cut the corner quite a bit here. As you can see, he almost puts, he's able to carry a lot more speed through there because he drives over the curb, and then there is some space on track out there for the car to go as he does it again. Next 2 turns are a left-hander and a right-hander, and that will be the lap of Brands Hatch. There's this little left-hander here that he takes very well, and then the final one is what looks to be a downhill right-hander that he's going to probably take in third. You can see him pick the back end of the car out, and we'll see whether this lap is good enough to improve his already pole position lap. Yeah, that was very nicely done by Kerry. And yeah, that was about 0.4 quicker, and that is going to really turn the screws on everybody else who are quite a bit far behind.
Yeah, tonight we have a much larger differential in pace. It looks like our gap from 1st to 10th is about 4.5 seconds. I think that's probably the biggest gap we've seen all season between the top 10.
Yeah, and you know, as we saw through the lap, it is a complicated track. It sort of looks like a simple sort of trek through the English countryside, but there's a lot of elevation changes. The camber is iffy. There can be a lot of different ways for you to lose time. As you know, as we saw at Carter Price, we're used to him being at the top, actually crashed on his first out lap, and he's just trying to get a lap in.
Yeah, to your point, you know, the shape of the track, looking at a track map, is not very difficult. But when you drive the track itself, there is some very technical corners and features in all of these complexes, really. So kudos to everybody who's mastering it. It's not an easy one to get around.
It is, but you know, the fact that we talk a little bit about CTD. CTD is a racing academy where the goal is drivers come in. They are typically, I'd say in like the 800 to 1500 range when they come in. and we coach them for free. We will help them spot races. We have a really, really supportive Discord, and the goal is to get them up to 2,000 rating, and then they can, go spread their wings and fly. Whether it's with us, a lot of the drivers tonight are graduates, so they started out under 2K and then they made it over 2K, and they'll be in the purple names, whereas the non-graduates are in green. But we do use the MX-5. We follow the Production Cup Challenge schedule, which is a 25-minute multi-class race that we'll have the BMW M2, the Toyota GR86, and the Mazda MX-5 with some Renault Clios in there somewhere. And we find that, when we have a Sunday night practice, and drivers come in maybe not knowing the track very well or just needing to improve, and then they get a lot better, and then they see a lot of results in official races when they do drive them. So the league is something we do for fun on Thursday nights, and the drivers spend all week helping each other, and then they come race, and it's a good time. And it does look like our lineup is set, so let's go ahead and take a look at our starting grid. Kerry Nolan, just miles ahead, is going to take pole position here. Next to him, Jacob Green. Jacob Green, I think he's got 1,400 rating. He won one of the Summit Point races last week, which was very surprising and just like a really big accomplishment for him, and he'll be starting on the front row. Behind them, Chris Sierks and Greg Calabria, no strangers to the front. Carter Price did end up getting a lap in. He'll start 5th next to Christopher Gardner, who is in 6th. Jim Campbell and Jeremy Toasty will take the 4th row. And then finally, Steve Hill and Adam McNeil will round out the top 10 of our starting grid. And I'm hoping this is a good one. I'm hoping that the pace differential in qualifying isn't indicative of the actual race pace.
Yeah, I did overhear a lot of the drivers talking in practice on what the tire decision was going to be based off of the forecast. Looks like the rain has subsided, or the chance of it, I should say.
Yeah.
We're looking at a dry race, and with that being removed, I bet you a lot more people can focus on their dry lap pace. We're going to see some good fights, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, no rain on the forecast. We will have a dry race, so hopefully this is a good one. If you just imagine flashing lights, that's what our drivers would be doing if you were allowed to in the MX-5. About a few seconds left, and then we're going to go ahead and get this pace lap underway. Is this looks like a half pace lap?
Yep, short parade laps tonight. Minimal opportunities to get those tires nice and warm.
And off we go. So things to keep an eye on. Will Kerry get a good start? Will anybody be able to catch up with him? And what are the battles going to look like here? What's your sort of sense of overtaking in this track, Aaron?
That is a fantastic question. There really feels like there's only one line through a lot of the track, so it is very difficult. It's for my kind of personal taste is to keep applying pressure and try to force a mistake or force a defensive move where I can take advantage.
Gotcha. Well, pace car is
right
off, and Kerry Nolan will guide us into green flag.
Green.
And off we are. Very, very nice start from Kerry Nolan, who's going to go ahead and take us through turn 1. So far, so good.
No carnage so far. No major change up in our running order here. Everybody's keeping it pretty tidy.
Yeah, let's hope for some action. We can already see that Kerry and Jacob are starting to pull away a little bit. Meanwhile, Chris Sierks and Greg, actually, yeah, I think we have pretty much the exact running order so far from qualifying. But that is going to be an off by Jacob Green, and that's going to open the door for Greg Calabria, and that is going to be somebody into the wall. Who was that? Oh, I think that's Chris Gardner.
Yeah.
And that will likely be, unfortunately, his race. They do get unlimited fast repairs, so 255 of them, so hopefully he'll choose to return. But yeah, that was unlucky. We are going to go almost 3 wide through one of these turns here with Carter Price taking control of that situation. But yeah, I'm curious what happened with Chris.
It did look like we lost Steve Hill in a little bit of that carnage as well. He's at the very back, just coming into turn 6 now.
Oh, wow, yeah. Does he have damage?
Steve does not.
All right, well, maybe he had to slow down to just avoid a wreck or something like that. But we also have Adam McNeil, who is meatballed, and we didn't get to see what happened with him. That's going to be 2 meatballs to start us off.
All right, so a couple of reports there. So Chris Gardner, unfortunately, had a self-spin and exiting turn 4. Just dipped a couple tires into the grass and couldn't keep it on track. And then reporting back on Adam McNeil's meatball there. So it looks like he was the cause of Steve Hill's spin in turn 4 as well. There's a little bit of contact there, so I think there's a meatball involved. Although it looks very light contact, so.
Maybe a bit of net code. Well, don't look now, but Greg Calabria has passed Jacob Green and is hunting down Kerry Nolan. Kerry has not been able to break away from the field at the pace that he was able to in qualifying. Greg, I don't know if Greg's won one of these races yet. He is absolutely due for a race win. He is a very quick driver. So we'll see whether he can start to really put the pressure here on Kerry Nolan. Having a look on the inside. He's going to go for it.
2 wide through here. That is a tight corner.
And it does look like Kerry will maintain the lead, but Calabria didn't lose a lot of time there, but that does give Jacob Breen the opportunity to now get in the fight.
Calabria looking for another move.
Yeah, he feels this. He feels he's got better pace than Kerry and wants to get past him.
And Greg ruining his entry there just a little bit.
Yeah.
It brings Jacob right up to his bumper and losing a bit of a gap to Kerry.
Yeah, Jacob had a sort of a dream entry into that corner and just took the widest line possible, and it really paid off. And he's going to put Greg Calabria into a defensive position after Greg was just on offense.
Carter Price up to 4th place, so he's trying to make a resurgence to the front pack as well.
He is, but that pack is 3 seconds behind our leaders. So Carter is really going to have to put some very, very good laps in and count on the guys ahead to fight and slow themselves down and allow him the chance to catch up. But, you can never really cut out Carter.
No, that is one driver full of surprises.
So we'll see if the battle at the front gets any more interesting here, as Greg came right up to the back of Kerry Nolan. And this is just not going to be easy. Kerry is driving very, very quickly. Under the bridge around the final turn here. And the first turn was where we saw Greg Calabria have a couple issues last lap. Let's see if they maintain themselves here. line just seems to be very, very strong through turn one.
Yeah, we see that gap increase again, and Jacob once again right on the back of Calabria's bumper.
Yeah, you know, and we've talked about it a lot on the broadcast that being the middle car in a pack of three is always so stressful because you're continuously going from offense to defense. Meanwhile, we have a battle between Jim Campbell and Jeremy Toasty. It looks like Jim Campbell is going to maintain the position, but Jeremy Toasty is not a man to leave him behind, and you might go for an overtake here under the bridge. That gap is very, very close. Follow him through these true right-handers. Really, they're really sending it through. I believe that's turn 8. But yeah, looks like this battle has slowed down. Jim was able to build a little bit of a gap to Jeremy over the last lap, and we're gonna check back in at the front, where things have been mainly stable. Our pack of three is Kerry Nolan Jr., Greg Calabria, and Jacob Green in that order, and they have been running in this order now for some time. Greg did get a really nice move off, but was unable to make it stick, and ever since then it's been a bit processional as Greg looks to make a move on Kerry, and then that lets Jacob Green catch up, and then Jacob Green, Greg has to fend him off, and that's going to be Matthew Coley, the scientist, and he's also meatballed. So this has been a rough first race as it comes to like some pretty serious incidents.
Yeah, most definitely. To that point as well, the areas that have a lot of runoff don't seem to be needed, and the areas where some extra runoff or some extra tarmac would be useful, there's actually just Armco there instead. So right. I think that explains a lot of our incidents.
Absolutely. As we see Jacob Green maybe going for a move around the outside. He loved that outside line on Summit Point, and he is going to take the position from Greg Calabria, but now Greg is right on his bumper.
These guys have to be careful. Too much fighting here, and it's going to just let Kerry run away with this race.
Absolutely. But it does look like Jacob has made the move stick, and he is going to launch into second with 12 minutes to go. Meanwhile, Carter Price has made up a half second to this group. So if these guys really start to fight, Carter is absolutely in this game for the win.
And with that said, Carter does have the fastest lap of the race so far with a 39.4.
Wow. Yeah, with no draft, that is an exceptional lap.
Yeah, 2/10 off of pole, all on his own. So he's going to try. He's going to pull everything out of his tool chest he's got to try and catch these guys.
Yeah, and then maybe in race 2, he'll have a bit better of a qualifying session and be right in the fight from the beginning.
Calabria very close here.
Yeah. This is pretty much the only battle we've got going on the track here, so hopefully Calabria can give us some entertainment. But doesn't look like he's got anything for Jacob at least this lap. See that, the race that Jacob won last week, Kerry Nolan was actually leading that race into the final lap, and then there was an incident with Jeremy Toasty, and he spun out, and that was how Jacob Green was able to take the win. So these races often do come down to the last lap as we hit the halfway mark of this race.
How often do you think it is everybody's just being patient until they know it's go time? They can make that pass stick, and they don't have to fight for anything beyond that. And as I say that, Calabria up the inside into T2.
Yeah. Jacob Green really struggling through turn 1, and Greg Calabria was able to just take significant advantage of that and take P2 back and not lose a lot of time to Kerry, but Kerry is almost 8/10 up the road, and if they're not careful, they will lose this draft. And meanwhile, you know, we were talking about maybe Carter Price joining the fray, but he's had a rough couple last laps, and he's back to 3.5 seconds down. So we will see whether.
Just behind him, we do have a battle between Chris Sirks and Jim Campbell.
Yes, we do. You see Sirks throwing his car around this corner, and Jim Campbell he seemed to have a better entry there, but just wasn't able to take advantage of the exit. But I think Jim sees blood in the water here. You know, and they've practically caught up to Carter Price, and Carter has just had a really horrendous last couple laps. He's 5 seconds back now from the leaders. He was well over a second and a half up over Chris Sirks, and that gap has dropped to being now within the draft. And Sirks is going to live to fight another day here. We'll see if Jim is able to make something happen.
Looking like Jim's backing off just a little bit, maybe saving some tires, preparing for that last lap pass.
Yeah, maybe then we should go back to the leaders, and Greg Calabria is right on the back of Kerry Nolan, and Jacob Green is right on his back as well, so makes me really wonder what happened in qualifying. Did Kerry just put in a heater, or did people just struggle?
Yeah, that is a good question. You know, draft them. Oh, and Calabria up the inside into 7 once again.
I think here's going to have a much better chance of making the stick, but he doesn't. And that's actually going to give Jacob Green an opening to go to his inside through 8. Or through, I believe that's 9. They come under the bridge in the same order in which they started. Nicely defended by Kerry Nolan. That was, I thought that he had that.
Yeah, that tight right-hander into turn 7. It is so difficult to go too wide through there. It's a lot of compromise by both drivers. So it's not too much of a surprise that Calabria really struggled on exit to, you know, kind of carry some of that momentum.
Yeah, and we're starting to see, you know, now that there's only really a couple laps to go, that the urgency is there, whereas it wasn't really before. Like, we are starting to see a lot more overtake attempts here. It does look like Jim Campbell was able to get past Sirks, but Sirks must have had an issue because he's well over 5 seconds back from him now. Yeah, Sirks must have gotten off. His last lap was a 47. That's unfortunate for him. He was very much fighting for life in that 5th place position.
As this race continues, we're seeing a lot more tire dipping. Everybody's getting much more comfortable, or a mix between comfortability and you know, that sense of urgency that you were talking about. I won't be surprised if we see more issues for drivers in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, me too. But that's going to be Jacob Green.
As I say that,
mowing the lawn, and that's going to put him significantly behind Greg Calabria, almost out of the draft. He really sent it on that corner and just went way too far wide, and that's going to make this a 2-man race for the time being, as we've crossed the 5 minutes barrier here. Man, Greg wants to get past him so bad. You can see it in the way he's driving. He's going to once again look around the outside of turn 1, but he's going to be on the outside for both of these turns. He is going to try to make Kerry slow on entry so he doesn't get pushed out on exit, but that doesn't really work. Greg, once again, through turn 2 is going to try to get something done here as well. This is a difficult track to overtake, though, and just can't get it. That is going to be Greg Calabria on the attack, and the fact that he is on the attack is going to slow them down and allow Jacob Green to get right back into it.
Sizing up another move here. A little bit of a nudge on this straightaway.
Oh, we got a blink, a little bit of a blink from Kerry. So hopefully his connection is okay. Because that would be a bummer for the race to end with some sort of like disconnection and netcode failure.
Absolutely.
And although I think Greg would gladly take that win, I think he wants to beat him.
Yeah, it would be a shame for the race to end that way after so many laps of respectful battling.
So it does look like we have lap traffic up the road, and depending on how fast that traffic is going, I can't see who that is. We might be in a situation like last week where the leader was able to get the draft and essentially shut down any chance of being passed on that final lap. But that driver has gone off, so I believe that's Adam McNeil. So that won't be an issue anymore.
Right, so even gaps between these three drivers, 4/10 between P1, P2, and P3. We continue to see that yo-yo all throughout the lap, and it looks like Carter Price might have an issue. He's dropping down the order.
Yeah, he's got significant damage, it looks like. Or something happened, he's just really slow, but Chris is catching up to him really fast. I can't see if there's damage. I'm not sure what happened to Carter, but Carter was flying. He has definitely slowed down somewhat. But yeah, that's going to bring Jim Campbell up into 4th. And that's going to also put him under pressure from Chris Searks. Yeah, I wonder if Carter doesn't have damage and he just got really, really screwed by that. So let's see.
Yeah, it looks like a self spin in turn 4 for Carter. No damage though, no contact with the Armco or anything like that.
And this should be our white flag lap coming up here, if my math is correct. And we're going to see whether that causes any urgency. And that is because that's going to be Greg Calabria taking a look on the inside of turn 1. This is white flag. Kerry Nolan maintains the advantage, but will he dive into turn 2? He will not, but that is going to put Kerry under significant pressure. Greg didn't want to go for it. And that's going to, where else is it going to be able to overtake here?
His last opportunity, I think, is going to be turn 7. We've seen them go too wide through there several times, and now that they've kind of studied each other, that's going to be Greg's best opportunity, I think.
Yeah. So he did have, he has a much better exit than Kerry here. And Kerry's going to go ahead and defend the inside, and Greg's going to take a look on the outside. And will he be able to make any of this stick? So far, no, but he's not out of it yet. And Jacob Green is there to, take any scraps should the two of them get into an incident or go for an overtake that leaves one of them significantly disadvantaged. But so far, barring a big mistake from Kerry Nolan, it's looking like his race. There's only one turn left. This is the final turn of the race. Greg's going to have a look around the outside and maybe on the inside. This
is a little bit of contact there.
Oh my God, this is going to be so close. Who's
Drag race to the line.
I think it's got to be. Who was that?
That
Was
is Nolan by a bumper.
Oh my God! By 1/100th of a second, Kerry Nolan takes first place, and Greg Calabria
Incredible.
in second. Jacob Green right behind them in third. Jim Campbell's going to finish in fourth. Carter Price fifth. Chris Sears sixth. Let's go back and take a look at that. I'm so curious, like what happened. So there was contact going in there, and that slowed down Kerry just a little bit. And Greg got the side draft and almost made it happen. 1/100th of a second away from the victory, but that is very deservedly going to go to Kerry Nolan, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at our overall results here. Kerry Nolan, our winner by 1/100th of a second over our AM winner, Greg Calabria. Jacob Green right behind them in third place. Jim Campbell takes fourth place after a very solid drive. Carter Price down in fifth. Chris Sears taking a sixth place. He wasn't able to overtake Carter at the end. Jeremy Toasty in seventh. Steve Hill in eighth place. Matthew Coley in ninth place. And then finally, Adam McNeil rounding out our top 10. Alrighty. Well, hopefully our next race has a little bit more consistent action. We did have a little bit of a parade. But yeah, we hope to see you there in about maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, welcome back, everybody, for race number 2.
Yes, we are back at Brands Hatch, and let's just have a real quick look at the forecast because, good Lord, is it going to rain? That is going to be some heavy, heavy rain that is going to start right around race starts, and that is going to make this a very, very interesting race.
Looks like during qualifying, we did have one driver expecting the rain to show up a little bit sooner than it will, setting his qualifying times on wet tires.
Yeah, Jeremy Toasty, unfortunately, did not have a chance in qualifying because he was rolling around in wet tires. And our so far our qualifying looks about the same as last time with Kerry Nolan, beating out Greg Calabria and Jacob Green with Carter Price in 4th, Chris Sierks in 5th. Kerry with a really, really, really nice lap. I think maybe during this downtime here we could take a look at it. Having a hard time getting this up. There we go. Okay. We're now on board with Kerry Nolan during his pole position lap here. You really do have to be quick in order to lead the field on Brands Hatch. This can be a really difficult track to overtake on, but there is also a lot of drafting going on, and you need to be able to drive without making mistakes. And mistakes are easy to come by on this track as Kerry Nolan just sails right through turn 3. And let's see about the line he takes on turn 4. You can see how late he apexes going up the hill here, and that is how you're supposed to take it. A lot of people I think try to turn in a little bit sooner. They think the apex is earlier than it is, but this is how you get the best exit, which you need on a long straight in the Miata for sure. Through turn 5, very, very nicely done. And again, we should expect to see the course cutting here through turn 6 and 7. There's a lot of undulation on this track. It's the elevation makes it a lot trickier than it seems. It's not a level track. This isn't like a for-purpose. This is very much just like built into the rolling countryside here. And Kerry's going to show us how to take this final turn here as he slides his Miata right around the corner, and that is going to be a 139.1. Just a really, really excellent lap by Kerry Nolan. That's going to take us to the end of qualifying, and take a look at our track condition. It is already very, very wet. Yeah, it is already moderately wet according to iRacing, and we're going to have ourselves a wet race.
Yeah, sad news for all of our MX-5 drivers. None of these MX-5 Global Cup cars have roofs, so I'm sure everybody's loving getting soaked while they sit in formation here before we get going.
I didn't even think about that. They are getting absolutely drenched out there. Did the ones in real life have roofs?
They do not. Yeah, those guys are also getting soaked. As long as you're moving, of course. The windshield deflects a lot of the rain. As you're racing, you really don't get that wet. But on grid, it's not very much fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned the grid. Let's take a look at our starting grid. Starting in first place once again, Kerry Nolan Jr., and he's going to be joined this time by Greg Calabria at the front of the pack, Jacob Green in 3rd place. Carter Price putting in some really good laps, just not quite there. He's going to start in 4th with Chris Sierks and Jim Campbell behind him in 5th and 6th. Steve Hill and Chris Gardner are going to start 7th and 8th, and then it looks like Jeremy Toasty will be rounding out our lineup as Well, no, actually, it will be Matthew Coley who is going to start in the 10th position. So will there be chaos? This is going to be a short pace lap on a tricky track in the wet. Now, we did practice on the wet, but let's see how much they remember.
Hey, our timer is finally ticked off. Should see our pace car take away here. I will say, taking a look at the grid from the blimp view, it's looking very menacing. There's pretty heavy fog, a lot of rain, as you said. It's going to be pretty tricky track conditions to be navigating.
Yes, we have certainly set our drivers up for success with these track conditions. And you know, in the rain, it's the pace matters, but it's really just not. It's staying on the track. That, you know, it can really mean a lot more in the rain because it is much harder to do. And we're going to see how everybody's wet pace is. You know, we have a good idea of how everybody's dry pace is, as Kerry Nolan is going to go ahead and start us off here.
Green, green, green.
And we have a green flag, and onward we go. So we know what people's green pace were. We knew that Kerry Nolan, Greg Calabria, and Jacob Green were all in a pack, but how will this look in the wet? And
Carter already looking so confident.
Yes. Carter with just amazing pace. He's just going to drive right past Greg Calabria up into second.
And unfortunate news, Jacob Green went off on the exit of turn 1 there. He has fallen down to P7.
Yes, but importantly, no damage on the car. We should be able to continue. That's going to be Carter Price going off. That's going to allow Greg Calabria to get past him. And it put it under significant pressure from the 81 of Jim Campbell and Steve Hill, who's behind them. Yes, so people who have had issues, Chris Gardner.
Kerry Nolan! Well, that is a self-spin in turn 4, and he drops himself all the way to P7 as well.
Oh, man, and that's going to put Greg Calabria out there in the lead, but Carter Price wants to take it back from him, and it looks like he will. Oh, a car sliding off. I think that's Jeremy Tosi through turn 5 there, but he's able to regain control, get back on the race, and there goes, that's Jacob Green again. It is. Oh, Jacob's struggling. All right. Absolutely.
This is proven.
Oh, my God. Carter Price just driving through the grass. That's going to be another off from Jeremy Toasty, who is now on the correct tire. But we've got some real confident driving from our top 3, which at the moment is Carter Price, Greg Calabria, and Steve Hill has come up into podium position all the way from what looks to be, like, I think P7.
These conditions are definitely proven to be as treacherous as we were expecting. That is a lot of off cars and carnage for one lap.
Yes, but everybody is alive, it looks like. Carter Price is going to take a little bit of a foray into the grass there, and Steve Hill is putting a lot of pressure on Greg Calabria, and Jeremy Toasty is right behind them looking for some positions here. Maybe, you know, doing qualifying on wet tires was like, you know, in baseball when they weigh the bats so that when you swing them, it feels lighter.
Yeah, maybe so. You know, if you can drive on a really bad tire, you'll be even faster on a good one.
Yeah.
And in this case, just the correct conditions.
But we have a lot of, I would say, variable pace here, as that is looking like Jeremy Toasty is going to make a move here on Steve Hill. Yeah, it's looking like he's going to make it stick as well.
Oh, little wiggly there on entry.
It is, but that is still going to be the position for Jeremy Toasty. He's going to climb up into the podium position and maybe look to find Greg Calabria as Carter Price starts to build a gap. I mean, if we had the ability to go back and look at Carter's start, he just drove right past Jacob Green, and there goes Great
Big
Calabria!
contact!
Oh, and he's going to take out, looks like, who is that? That's going to be Great Calabria, Jeremy Toasty, and Jim Campbell, that are all going to be wrapped up in it. And I'm not sure if, you know, the damage they overtook, but that is unfortunate, and that is just going to give Carter Price a massive lead. Oh man, I wonder what happened.
It was just a little bit of door banging and some side-to-side contacts between Toasty and Calabria. Unfortunately, both of them spun. It looks like Toasty maybe dipped some tires in the grass and started spinning first, and then collected both of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, Toasty was having trouble staying on the track. We saw him go off a couple times. But that's going to put, Carter Price into a significant lead. Although, I got to say, you know, Steve Hill has closed about a second on him since I last looked. So
yeah, he is. He's right there.
But Steve Hill is going to have an issue on turn 4 or turn 3, and that's going to slingshot Carter Price back in the lead with a much higher gap.
Another spin for Toasty coming out of turn 3.
This has just been.
This will be a race to forget.
Yeah, ruinous qualifying. Just really unfortunate. Turn of events for Jeremy Toasty. He had gotten all the way up to P2 or P3, and then just unfortunately keeps putting those tires in the grass, and it's come back to bite him. And now we have no battles going on whatsoever. So really, this is just going to be a waiting game to see who's got pace, who is able to go ahead and make moves as we see Steve Hill go off, and that's going to bring Kerry Nolan, who fell all the way back to 7th after his spin, right back in contention there for second at least. I think Green is going to get past what must be a pretty, maybe some damage on Jeremy Toasty's car, but certainly not the most stable at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he had wheel damage after his contact with Jim Campbell.
He is closing right up to the back of Jacob Green.
Yeah. Oh, and that is going to be a race ender for Jacob Green. You're just going to have to tow. Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, big contact with that tire wall there.
And it's going to be a meatball, unfortunately. And the question is Steve Hill going to be able to hold off Kerry Nolan? They have about the same pace, but every time we look at Steve Hill, he's off the track. Carter Price and has about a 3.5 second lead, and he, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, is likely going to walk away with this race. But with track conditions like these and a car with very little downforce, anything can happen. This is not by any means a guaranteed win for Carter. The track is very, very wet. And all the elevation and camber changes just make it, you know, an even more daunting task to drive these in these conditions.
Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah, and if you look at just the gap between Steve and Kerry, it's swinging by almost a half second through every turn. So they each have the corners that they're good at. They each have the corners that they struggle at. But right now, as we see Carter Price make a small mistake and go through the grass, he lost almost 2 seconds there to Steve Hill and Kerry Nolan, but it looks like Kerry's just going to go for the pass. And that's going to be Great Calabria meatballed as well. And just really, unfortunate circumstances.
Seeing varying line choices from everybody through turn 1. We're seeing a lot of yo-yoing between these top 3 drivers.
Oh, that's Kerry. No, that's Steve Hill. He's just going to go around the outside of turn 2 and spin, and that's going to take him out of contention for now. And that is going to make this Carter Price versus Kerry Nolan. And can Kerry catch up? He dropped all the way to 7th.
He does have the fastest lap right now by almost 3 seconds in comparison to Carter Price.
Oh, wow, yeah. 156.2. Carter's best is a 2-minute .4. But a lot of the time he has been getting off track, so those laps just might not count as much, but we're going to see. I mean, Kerry's got the pace. And Carter's going to have to hold his nerve here as we creep closer and closer to that halfway point of this race. And this track isn't getting any drier. This is only going to get worse.
Taking a look at the forecast, we are in the roughest part of the rain cloud itself, but with the continuation of rain, it's not looking good.
Ooh, yeah, look at that. We are just brutal. So Jacob Green is back out there, and he is potentially within range of Carter. So if he gets in Carter's way, that might pose an issue for him.
Now Carter and Kerry both, and just as I say that, looks like Kerry went a little wide there into the exit of turn 1, giving Carter just another little bit of breathing room. Both of these guys are starting to pull away from Steve Hill just ever so slightly.
Yeah, Kerry lost a lot of time there. He lost probably about 2.5 seconds from Carter Price. But believe it or not, that is still our closest gap of the race. Pretty much everybody from P5 down is 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 40 seconds of gap. As Chris Sierks and Matthew Coley are also meatballed as well. So the meatball count is up to, I want to say 3 or 4. Jacob Green, Greg Calabria, Chris Sierks, and Matthew Coley.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, these really are just brutal conditions as Carter Price has caught up to Jacob Green, and we'll see whether Jacob will let him pass or whether he's going to make Carter work for it.
It's looking like it'll be the latter.
Ooh, Carter with taking that a little too much curve there on the whip, but he is going to go ahead and get past Jacob Green. And now the question is if Kerry catches him, will the same thing happen? He did lose about 2 seconds there. There's also a battle brewing between Steve Hill and Jim Campbell. Steve has had a really rough last couple laps, and has been getting some off tracks, and we'll see whether Jim is going to be able to take advantage of that and climb up to a podium position. It's looking like it.
Jim's pace is looking very nice.
Yes.
Fastest lap, 55.8 in the very wet conditions.
Very
incredible.
Very nice by Jim Campbell, but he's going to push a little too hard and go off, and that's going to slow him almost all the way down. And that is going to put a significant gap and very much pump the brakes on this battle. This has been just the commentator's curse race, man. Every time we turn to somebody, they screw up.
That's how it goes, it seems.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Carter Price just significantly faster. He's got a 7-second gap on Kerry Nolan, who's got about a 4.5-second gap on Steve Hill. He's got about a 5-second gap on Jim Campbell. Jim's going to have to really, at the end of the day, this is not over between Steve and Jim. You know, Steve's last lap was a 2:02. Jim's last lap was a 55.8, fastest lap of the race by a pretty decent amount. So all it takes is, it's just a question of whether Steve Hill can hold on to the car.
And to that point, you know, an instant encounter might come into play here. He's yet to have a clean lap.
Yes.
So if he does get a drive-through penalty because of too many off tracks, that's going to change up our order here as well.
Yeah, looks like he's at 11x right now, so not necessarily knocking on the door. For comparison, Jeremy Toasty is 14, so he actually is at risk of getting a drive-through, and Jim Campbell only has 6.
And a big shunt for Carter Price. And the last corner hits the tire barrier with the front end.
That's going to be it for Carter. That's a heartbreaking way for this race to end. And Kerry Nolan has come all the way back into first place after his own self-spin. Oh, that is a meatball for Carter. That's half the field meatballing in these conditions. That's not entirely surprising, but Kerry Nolan has, he started this race at front, and then he's just had to let the race come to him, and it very much has. And he is now back in the lead. Oh man, what a shame for Carter. He was so far ahead. Carter is a pretty unflappable guy, but that one's got to sting a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, Carter, I think, has had a few races go like this too. Just minor mistakes leading into big incidents and really costing him some good positions.
Yeah, did he, like what happened in that one, did he just lose control?
I didn't get to see it live. Now might be a good opportunity to take another look at it.
Yeah, we're not doing anything else. Watching Kerry Nolan drive around the track. And as soon as I switch to Kerry, the driver behind him, Jacob Green, goes off.
Now, Steve Hill is within striking distance. If Kerry has any moments
Yes.
through the remaining 4 minutes of this race, we might see the at least first 2, if not top 3 drivers all starting to battle it out again.
Yeah, I mean, Kerry did spin before. It's certainly not out of the question. So as long as Steve Hill is able to, stay out of trouble, and this might be his first actual completed lap here. And it is 57.5.
Just up ahead, Kerry did have a bit of an issue on exit there, and that brings Steve Hill that much closer.
Absolutely. This is, it's with gaps like these, you'd think it's over, but pretty much anybody in the top 3 has a shot to win this race just based on the conditions making this very, very difficult to race on.
Now, with how spread out our entire field is here, it honestly is quite impressive that the top 3 are only separated by 3 seconds each, because the next closest car in P4 is 33 seconds behind.
Yes. I mean, every single car behind Jim Campbell has had some sort of significant accident or off. 5 of those cars, the bottom 5, have suffered meatballs. This is just these conditions are so tricky and so unforgiving, especially in a car like the Miata, that it's a tough task to keep this car on the track for this long. Like we'll have about 2 laps remaining as Kerry Nolan crosses the line here. Yeah, they might white flag this actually, given the conditions. Let's take a look. Not showing that it's white flagged, so I guess we'll see whether we go another lap. But Jim Campbell has been gaining pretty steadily on Steve Hill. Jim Campbell just put in his best lap of the race at a 55.6. And we will see whether, Jim is able to catch up. The problem is that if he pushes, he's just increasing the likelihood that he'll go off. But he is catching up ever so surely to Steve Hill, and Steve might have a battle on his hands.
Now this is the section that Steve's been kind of struggling with for the majority of the race.
Yeah.
A little bit wiggly there, but he keeps a hold of it.
Yeah, he had to brake significantly far into the exit. And that's just going to bring Jim Campbell ever closer. And once again, Jim is just way faster than him right now. It's like Verstappen levels of quick in the wet. Look at Jim just confidently throwing his car around the track.
Here he comes around the outside. Minor contact there, but everybody's keeping it together.
Yeah, once again, we don't think this is the white flag, but sometimes it's been wrong before. And we'll see whether there is the urgency or whether they'll get one more lap here. And we will not. This is the white flag. And Kerry Nolan's going to finish in first place, and it looks like Steve Hill is just barely going to hold off Jim Campbell for that P2 spot. And he does. Nicely done, keeping it together at the end by Steve Hill. And he's going to take a very nice P2 with Jim Campbell behind him at P3, and we have a full minute before everybody else finishes.
Now, on that last lap from Kerry Nolan, he went fastest again with a 54.4.
Which
that is flying.
A full second faster than the next fastest lap. He really wanted to put this one away. He did. Congrats to Kerry. He did spin very early on, and was able to maintain his composure, come all the way back, didn't give up, and takes home a double victory for week 7. Well, as the rain continues to fall, let's go ahead and take a look at our race results here. Kerry Nolan, very, very nicely done, taking both victories. He is going to finish P1. Behind him, our AM winner, Steve Hill, in P2. Jim Campbell almost made the comeback, came within 0.2 of a second, but just wasn't able to clip Steve, and he's going to take P3. Behind him, Jeremy Toasty, after an objectively funny qualifying session, was able to come back into P4. Chris Gardner in P5, and then we have the meatballers, Carter Price, Greg Calabria, Jacob Green, Chris Sierks, and Matthew Coley finishing us out. Brutal conditions. I'm sure that was a very stressful race for them, but congratulations to our winners and our podium, and that's going to do it for us here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week. I believe we're headed to Spa.
Yes, we are. We will see you then. Take it easy, everybody.